me, Mikey Pipes, and I am taking my official first post-COVID vacation. I'm in Puerto Rico. Haven't been here in about 12 years. It's nice and warm, but it was a perfect opportunity to give Daniel, my protege, an opportunity to get his feet wet with a couple easy jobs where he needs to take his time to learn. So here it is. Let's get your thoughts and feedback down below. Smash that thumbs up button. I'm proud of him. You know what? Rome wasn't built overnight, but Daniel's gonna go incredible places in life. Daniel, you picked a great trade and you're gonna go great places. Very proud of you.
Good morning. This is my first day alone working for the pipe doctors without Mikey Pipes, and I will be performing a preventative maintenance on this 4-ton ream rooftop unit. I have the Viper coil cleaner, the EVAP foam cleaner. I'm going to use this for the condenser and this for the evaporator because there's no running water anywhere up here or downstairs. So I have the coil jet filled with water. I have my hand tools, Testo Smart Probes, some hand treat, and a new box of filters. So I have the disconnect pulled and the unit is opened up. Let's see how dirty the filters were. And now I'm gonna spray the Viper coil cleaner on this coil. says to let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes, so that's what I'm gonna do. While this sits with the coil cleaner in it, I'm gonna spray the evaporator coil. The cleaner didn't foam as much as I expected it to, but I got the most coverage that I could with the can. Here is the evaporator coil, which I was thinking about spraying down with water first, but I don't want to fill up the ductwork, so I'm just going to spray it with the cleaner, and then I'm going to lightly rinse it off with water afterwards, because it says that you can do that with the new Calgon evap foam, no rinse. Okay, so I'm not sure if the camera can pick this up, but the new Calgon seems to have foamed a lot more. And I was thinking that could be just because this is a smaller coil and I probably got more product in. But I did not use the whole can yet, and it seems to have foamed up the whole coil pretty well compared to the Viper, which you could see it, but you can't see it as well, and it hadn't covered the entire area of the coil because it didn't foam up as much. But it has been just about 10 minutes, so I'm gonna rinse it off from the inside out, so I don't push the dirt further into the coil. This coil jet is pretty cool. I haven't used one before. I've seen it on YouTube. I haven't seen Mikey Pipe's videos on it yet, but it's cordless, so just push the button and it works. See that it's getting some dirt out. The coil doesn't seem to be terribly plugged up, but I'm trying not to use too much water because I don't have that much to use, and since this is no rinse required, I should be good just giving it a light rinse, but I'm going to try to do the best I can and rinse as much as possible off. Got the condensing coil all cleaned off. I don't know how it looks on camera, but it does look a good amount cleaner than before. And now I'm gonna lightly rinse this evaporator coil just to try to push some of that dirt out rather than just let it run down and sit there once the cleaner dries off. Okay, the evaporator coil definitely looks a lot cleaner on both sides. This side is really clean, but air is blowing through this way. Can't really see it, but the water that was coming out of this coil was almost looked dirtier than the water coming out of the condenser, which could be because of the thin filters, but now I'm going to move on to checking all of the electrical components, the contactors, the capacitors. The cap for the compressor is a 55, also for the condenser fan motor. And I'm gonna have to pull this capacitor out, but I did take the camera in there to take a look at it, and it looks like it's a 10 microfarad, but I'll pull that out to make sure everything's dry before I touch anything, just in case some electricity manages to travel through. Okay, so I took off the cover to the contactor just to make sure there was no pitting or corrosion and any burning. And I went to check the resistance of the 24 volt coil, which is going to be hard to get a good connection and use the camera at the same time, but I got 8 ohms, which from what I learned in school would make this a bad contactor, but speaking with people in the community, it seems to be that around 7, 8 to 17 or 20 is good. So I'm just going to leave the contactor as it is, and I'll pull the contactor in and check for continuity, make sure everything else is good, and then I'll move on to checking the capacitor. Okay, while testing the old capacitor, it was at 53.5 microfarads. It is designed for 60. Now the other side was good. That was reading 4.7, but replaced it with the new 65 capacitor. And now I'm going to check the blower capacitor. So I took out the blower motor capacitor, which is rated for 10 microfarads, plus or minus 10%, which would be 9 or 11. And I am reading just under 9 at 8.9 microfarads, so I'm going to be replacing this as well to prevent blower motor failure in the future. Thought I'd show you the nice new filters that I'll be replacing these cheap filthy ones. Got the new blower motor capacitor in, and while I was at the truck I got some band iron to fit this in a little more securely, since it was too small for this slot that was there previously. Made sure it was visible. Now I'm going to put the filters in, close up the unit at the blower, put my gauges on, and check that the pressures are good and the subcooling and superheat look good. So I finished my first day on my own with the pipe doctors without Mikey pipes, and it was a pretty easy day. He didn't give me too much to do. I guess he didn't want to overwhelm me. I stopped recording on that cleaning that I was doing, a preventative maintenance on that rooftop unit, because at first I was having trouble with the testo probes connecting to the Measure Quick app. So I ended up figuring it out and I got it to work, but then the pressures didn't seem right to me. But then I realized that the coil, the evaporator coil was wet and the condenser coil was still wet. So I let it run for a while, and after it ran for a while, the pressures looked good to me. The system was satisfying. I had to lower the temperature down to 60 to get it to keep running to look at the pressures. I replaced the dual capacitor for the fan motor and condenser fan motor and the compressor, and then I replaced the capacitor for the blower motor, which I was a little on edge about because it was just barely not within range, but I figured it's the better thing to do to just replace it. It's preventative maintenance, and it prevented it having to be changed in the future. And then I went on another call for a condenser making a loud noise, and I spoke with the customer, and he said that the condenser fan motor was making a much louder noise than usual. It didn't seem all that loud to me, but I did think it could be quieter, and it sounded more of like an air noise rather than a motor issue. But to be safe, I checked the capacitor, which was in range. I tested it dynamically and I tested it disconnected from the unit, and both times I got within range for the compressor and for the fan motor on the dual cap. And looking at the coil, I thought that it seemed like it was pretty dirty, and I thought the coil is probably dirty to the point where the fan is struggling to pull air through it, and that's what was causing the noise. So I went ahead and I cleaned the coil, and it worked out. The noise went down like a really good amount, and to me it sounded perfectly normal. The customer wasn't there to say that he believed it sounded normal, but I don't see there being a reason why he would say it's still loud, because it sounds to be about the same sound as most other systems. It's a newer system too, so it seemed good to me. It was a Carrier, a 2-ton, 410A, and that was it. I think I did decently. It was pretty stressful, just because this is my first couple of weeks with the pipe doctors, and I don't want to mess up now really bad and then I look bad, but if I mess up, I'll learn. And now I'm on my way back home, and he let me take his truck back home, so I'm going to practice brazing once I'm home, and I'll probably record that, since I don't know what else I could really record to make this video entertaining. And Mikey Pipe seems like he wants me to record, so I figured I'd do it. And it feels weird, but whatever. If somebody enjoys it, good for them. I hope someone enjoys it. But yeah. I also would really want to hear people's input on the situations that I was in today. I know I didn't really record enough to show you guys exactly what was going on, but like for the fan, if you would have done anything else, if there was something that I missed, yeah, if you guys would have replaced that capacitor, what else I could record that people would want to see. my brazing. I'm going to try my best to record that. I'm hoping that I'll do a little bit better because I'll be like on my own time and it'll be good to just practice. I'm going to try to make a situation where it's like a tight spot. I'll probably put some cardboard around so if I light the cardboard on fire I know I messed up. But yeah, I mean, if I do badly, I'd really like anybody to tell me what they think I'm doing wrong and what I could improve on, or tips or anything. I don't know. I want to learn. I want to do everything the best and the right way and as best as I can. So, yeah. So here's a bunch of crappy flares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not flares, swedges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 swedges. And I'm gonna see how well I can braze them with this piece of wood behind. That way I can see if I can try to avoid burning it, and if I do burn it, it'll show me that I'm putting too much heat on it or I'm not controlling the torch well enough. So, let's see if this works. I figured this is probably hot enough since it's such a small line. I guess you'll tell me if it's not. Now I know I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm just doing it so that the pipe cools down, so it's like I'm starting over from outside air temperature with each joint that I do. And that one looks okay. probably just going to keep going on the rest and not cool it down, because that's going to take too long. But I did get a portion of that too hot. Melted a little bit of the swage. So here is the last one I did. Can't get the camera to focus, but I did get coverage all the way around on all of them. You can see this is the one that I overheated and took a little bit of that swage off. Here is the third one that I did. Nope, that's the second. Here's the first. And this was the previous one that I did before recording, which I think looks like it might have been the best one. I'm not really sure why. I'm thinking that it's too hot, and that's why they look like this, with very like sharp edges still on the pipe. I'm thinking that out of all of the ones that I just did on camera, this one appears to look like it was the best. Here is the underside on all of those. So, I don't think I did terrible, but I'd like to hear input on what's wrong with them, if there is, which I feel like with how dark they are, that means that I got them too hot, and that is an issue. But I can't do a pressure test, because then I'd be wasting nitrogen and a Schrader. But I'm thinking that they're just getting a lot hotter because I have the oxyacetylene, which I'm not familiar with yet.